We do like to play around with different coffees here.
You bet.
Right?
And I think
Dunkin' Donuts.
I think it's a mistake for people not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to know what most people like.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You can't ignore the customer.
Or what they have access to as well. That's a big thing.
Back east, Dunkin' Donuts is the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
And their roast. I don't know if you've seen this, Velton.
No, I have not ever looked at their beans.
You have, this is a beautiful roast. It's very light. I like the appearance of this roast a lot, and I don't see enough of this.
And there's a black.
Why beyond?
Is it Dunkin' Donuts black? I mean, no, it's not. Look at that.
Wow.
Nice.
This is kind of a representation of how I see the drinking habits are on the East Coast versus West Coast.
Right.
It's amazing though. At that volume, there's an incredible amount of need for being very technical and having a common language in how you talk about the coffee. Because as you're working with a broad team of people to produce consistency, when you've got agricultural product as an ingredient, it's extremely difficult to, especially with a lighter roast, where you're tasting more of the coffee than the roast. So here's in contrast. I mean, just two big companies that we're familiar with. They're both phenomenally skilled at producing something consistent with a completely different focus. And I think that they both really have great markets where
That's not as dark roasted as some I've seen of theirs.
Yeah.
It's the pipe.
they both have some lighter and some darker. But at the end of the day, I think you know, if you look at the coffee chain, there's an awful lot of work that goes in from planting a seed. For us, it's about 7 years from planting a seed to having the first mature harvest. And it's a different world than for a retailer who decides from one day to the next, oh, I think I'll switch to this coffee, or I think I'll change my brew methods. Or so the decisions, the context, the time context is completely different, and the commitment and the risk involved in changing how you grow coffee, how much you plant, whether or not you're going to spend money to weed, prune, and fertilize appropriately, that's going to be completely based on what the market price is. And if the commodity market price is low, you're not going to invest that money at that time. Then as the market price comes up, you can't recuperate the quality that you could have had for a couple years perhaps, maybe 3 or 4. But now the market's up, and now you're doing whatever you can to push volume. And so it's really a harsh thing to do to a plant. The reality is, though, you can't blame anyone. You do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And so you have to make decisions in a context that is relevant to you, not based on what someone else thinks would be nice. It's possible to have the intensity and such clearly articulated acidity if you're lower. It's just not possible. It's because it develops slower. You can kind of fake it with shade. There's a lot of ways, but basically if the plant develops slowly, the bean has time to become more complex, and in the slower development you have more intensity in the traits. Now, does that mean it's guaranteed going to be a pleasant cup? No. That hinges more on a few other environmental factors and a lot on the human element. Right. However, that being said, bottom line is nobody can make coffee better. From the very beginning to the cup, all we can do is screw it up. That's the choice we have, and the choice should be to not do that. Sometimes it's not too hard, and sometimes it takes an awful lot of work.